as a now knowing, conscious, neurodivergent human, I grew up masking so well that I actually became a counselor because I was studying people so much before I realized I was neurodivergent. In that, I was told I had anxiety and depression, and I was like, yeah, that seems to fit. I'm anxious and I'm depressed. But at the time, it seemed like it was just like, sometimes your brain will do that to you, so it's just something you need to learn to talk to your brain about, and that's all it is. And maybe you could do meds to fix your anxiety and your depression. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this information, so I just took it as sometimes this is going to happen. Fast forward decade or more than a decade later, and I'm in my 30s, and I finally discovered that I am neurodivergent in terms of I am autistic and I have ADHD. So because these both can balance and also like there's a lot of things that overlap and are intersectional here, and that in this what combined to make it so that nobody knew that until I discovered it as a counselor working with clients who were also autistic and neurodivergent. And so it was this space of I never ever would have known had I not been focused on figuring out what it was about humans so that I could understand them better. And in understanding them better, it led me to a realization of information that helped me know who I was. So you can be a neurodivergent human and think that you're neurotypical for your whole life. And a lot of times we just assume everybody's working this hard. It must be this hard for everybody. And it was, I thought that, and it wasn't. So there's a lot of things that go into my understanding now that feed the validation of just saying it's anxiety or depression isn't the complete picture. Just like you might have a rash on my arm, but they are caused by different things, right? If my shirt is what's causing one rash versus an allergic reaction to something I ate, I need to know the difference so that I can help myself stay safe in the future, instead of just saying, oh, if the rash shows up, just take some meds because that gets the rash to go away. No, I want to know what caused it so that I can actually figure out how to address this. So if I was anxious and depressed, it actually wasn't just that like, oh, well, these things happen sometimes. It's actually because I was a masking neurodivergent and didn't know it. And I was spending so much energy. So I was anxious, showing up as neurotypical, and so that people liked me, and like people pleasing and doing all the other stuff of like, I'm a good human. Look at me, be a good human. And so I was playing that game all the while. That makes me anxious. So my anxiety is warranted though, because when I didn't put on that much energy, I was received as like broken or othered. So I'm anxious because I have to put this much energy showing up. Then I'm tired because it takes me that much extra energy to show up like that. So in order to do that, I have to spend all this energy, and now I'm exhausted. Now I'm burned out. Now I look depressed, and now I'm anxious and I'm depressed, and people are like, hey, let's fix it. Let's give you some meds. And sometimes, a lot of times, the meds don't actually work because it's not so much chemicals in that situation as it is burnout and fatigue. And it's more so that I need rest and rejuvenation and supports rather than I need something to make the rash go away when I continue to eat the thing that caused the rash, right? If that's the analogy we continue to work with here. So we got to figure out what's the underlying factor here so that we can address that, rather than gaslighting people into like, oh, it's just in your head, it's just that you're anxious, it's just that you're depressed. No, if you're working that hard behind the scenes, this will continue to happen until we address some actual things that could help.